Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I have another fantastic scrap project for you. And it's a scrap project where you transform scraps of fabric into an entirely new fabric that you can use. You can either use it straight like that. For this piece I'm planning to use it as the background for one of my still life pieces for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, where we're doing still life prompts. For this 6-month period, and at the moment we've been asked to work on our background, or in my case I'm creating a number of different backgrounds, and you can see some other ideas which I'll link to in the description below this video as well. But this idea uses strips of fabric, so they can sometimes even be like the selvage off your pieces of fabric, or just random strips. If you have some long pieces left, you can tear them down into strips. And it's a weaving technique, and it's then I've got a base fabric underneath. I'm using this piece of linen, which if you've watched my most recent Thrifty Thursday video, I got so many linens from an estate, an entire estate of essentially dining linens. And this was one of them. I thought I probably won't necessarily use it as a tablecloth, for example, and it wasn't particularly sort of like embroidered or anything, but it makes a wonderful base to stitch into, and it's got a bit of substance to it as well, so I've used that as my base. And so I've created this larger one, which at the moment is only stitched around the edges to hold the pieces down, but I'll be showing you that technique. But there is also the option to then do further cantha stitching, running stitch, or even you could do little French knots in the center of each of them, whatever sort of decorative stitching you want. But what I wanted to show you is that actually even without that further stitching, it stays well together. Like you can crunch it up, you can unfold it, and the most you'd have to do is just give it a little tug, and it all comes back into shape, as long as you get those stitches holding it in place along each side. And I just love, I've used pretty much sort of what I call my neutrals. So I have two drawers of scraps of neutral sort of fabrics, and I've used those, and yeah, but then mixed in some florals, as I say, mixed in some selvages, some stripes, some upholstery type fabrics, some with more sort of detailed smaller designs on them, spots. And the other thing I did in here, which is a great idea, is you can actually turn some of your fabrics upside down if you want to get a different look from them. I think I've done that, or maybe I was planning to. I'm just looking where I might have an example of having turned a piece upside down. Have I got an example here? But if not, we'll show you in the full little mini sample that we're going to work on together. So I'll just give you a bit of an up closer look at it. I love how it takes on a sort of a patchworky, but like a rough patchworky, because I'm not measuring my strips to be exactly identical. I'm also using different sorts of fabrics. Like this is a woolen fabric with a lovely fringy bit, leaving fringy bits on these ones, because I actually like that. I don't even mind if there's quite sort of like thready bits. I think it all just adds interest to this base. Now I know someone will end up asking me what size is this bigger piece, so let me just sort of give it a bit of a measure. And I've left the sort of raggedy ends on so that down the track, if I want to sort of fold it around a canvas or into a frame or something, I can do that. But let's just say measure here. Actually, I should do it in centimeters so I can actually know what it is. So that is 27 centimeters up to there, and then we've got about another 20, so about 47 centimeters in each direction. I think it'll be about the same this direction. Just slightly under this, this direction. So yeah, it's a bit longer along that edge, but about 47 centimeters. So I thought I wouldn't do this one on camera because it was just a bit too big to manage under the frame, and so I've got a smaller square, and I've changed my base after someone saying the The quilt that I've got under this might be a bit busy for some projects, so hopefully this will be a bit better. It's a bit more neutral. Then again, I am working in neutral, so hopefully it doesn't blend in too much, but I think that looks okay to me. So these are actually the bits that I had left when I chopped off the ends off some of the strips. So again, it's reusing it. And then I have another project for another day to show you, which is using even the tinier scraps that were left from trimming these pieces off. So let me just bring you down a little bit so we are at a reasonable size where I can see and you can see, which is important. So I've just cut myself a rough square of this, and I've measured it so that it should broadly fit in. I think it was 9. We'll see how many fit on there. And so then I've got my scraps of fabric, which I've just torn. As I say, I haven't made them exactly the same. I mean, sometimes they end up pretty reasonably similar, but yes, thinner, thicker. I really just did it by eye. I was sitting down on the couch with Travis last night, and I was just tearing my straps. So this is a scraps. This is a selvage here, so you can see those little markings along there. Just a very plain fabric. This came off a pillowcase. And so if you want to remove any loose threads, if they're going to bother you when it's all sort of woven together, I'm not terribly fussed, but I generally just sort of grab them off with my fingers as I sort things out. So that's the same as that one. So I probably will put that one to the side. Got this one. This one. That one's the same as that, so I'll just put that to the side. But this is where you can definitely turn these ones upside down and you get a different effect, as you can see. So I will keep those ones on standby. Oops, I'm just taking one off that I didn't want to. So if I do just see how many I will need. That one almost doesn't make it. We'll see if the other one's slightly longer. Yep, the other one is slightly longer, so we'll keep that one in play. And I like to, when I'm spacing them, kind of space out the colour. So I wouldn't put this one, for example, right next to that because it's a bit too similar in colour. And then I'll have a look over in this stack over here and just see if there's another one that I want. Like, do I want a brown? And if I had that brown, I might be inclined actually to put it, possibly, I might move that one up there. Oh no, actually no, that's better down here. And then maybe this one here. And then is that one going to be long enough? Might just fit. It doesn't matter, like if we don't go right to the, if we don't overlap the edges on this one, it's fine. It's really a demonstration one and I will definitely use it for something. So that's as many as we need. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is for a square. Let me just grab them off here. We'll probably end up reordering them because I'm not taking them off in a particular order. That is for a square of about 23.5 centimetres by about 23. So slightly less this direction. So if I do have any short ones, we can definitely use them in the other direction. So let's just make sure we've got 8 over here as well. 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I can bring in one of these ones, which was a double up from the other side, or I can potentially use these ones as well. So what we need is a threaded needle, just with some regular sewing cotton. I think I've actually got this one threaded from yesterday, so we may as well use that, and just put a knot in the end of it. So I hope you're having a lovely day. It's turned into a stormy afternoon, and I'm filming this after dinner, and the grey clouds outside, so it was a humid day. Headed out this morning with Travis for the morning walk before work, and I thought, oh, it's a nice cool morning, but virtually out of the driveway, and I could feel the humidity. So let's just reconsider the order that we're going to put things in, at least, so we do get a bit of that colour colour variation. That one up there, put a white in between there. In fact, that one can go there, that one can go down there, that one can probably go there. I think that will be right. So what I will do, and I'll just put these now off to the side in the order that we're going to have them, so you don't have to watch me reorder them yet again. And I'll start at the bottom. I'll space the little strip so it's sort of got even bits on the end if it does have some spare. And then I'll just come up with my needle just at the end and just put some stitches up and down, just a running stitch essentially, just to hold the piece in place. And then we'll get another needle and have that doing the same thing on the other side as well. So you just sort of leave your needle in there because we'll just sort of keep it with us while we do the stitches. So then let's grab our thread and just thread up the other needle for the other side. So just using one of my second-hand cottons. I've never had a problem with my cottons getting a week. I have heard, I think, who's the lady, Just Get It Done Quilts, who does like a decluttering videos each new year. She does say to throw out threads that are old or just use them as sort of display, but yeah, I've not had a problem with my vintage threads. Must admit, the very vintage ones on the wooden rolls, I just keep them as decorative pieces, but these ones, most of my threads are secondhand. If you're working on a particularly large piece, something you might like to do at this point is put a pin into the middle. So I will do that just so that it's a bit of a demonstration, but also will make my life easier, I think. Oops, that needle's attached on that side. Let's get the right needle for the right side. And then we'll do the same thing. So line our fabric broadly up with the bottom, and then we put our stitches through here. So yeah, it's been great. I've had so many ideas bubbling in my head about different backgrounds to make, and I thought even if I eventually don't end up using all of the backgrounds for the Roxy prompts, because I might end up putting a couple of prompts on one background, but I want to have enough ready so that I'm kind of not having to be working on the backgrounds at the same time as the prompts. These pieces will be great to use for all sorts of purposes. So we'll then bring our next one, and I just kind of line it up broadly, sort of next to it really. This one's got a little bit of lovely fringiness on it, so I can kind of just slip it slightly under, but not really too much. And again, just leaving approximately a little extra bit at each end, equivalent. And so then I just continue doing the little stabby runny stitch. You can do it all in one go with your needle, but I find it's easier just to kind of keep it a bit held down while we're stitching it in place. So perhaps if you want to do this, you can just start out with one this size. So you could even make sort of individual blocks like this and then put them together as a background. That could be a really interesting effect also. And I was thinking you can even probably cut some of these little blocks as well and turn them like into triangle woven pieces. You might need to then do some extra stitching either straight after you cut it or before you cut it, just to make sure the pieces will stay properly aligned. That wouldn't be as much of a problem if you had done your cantha stitching. So here I'm just showing how you can do a single stitch through rather than having to do the stubby running stitch. And so just make sure it's sitting broadly flat. Don't worry if there's a tiny bit of extra fabric or a tiny bit of tightness. It will probably settle itself out in the end. So then we will put this one here. Again, we'll just bring our needle through it. I can show you it's probably a bit easier to do this stitch once you're a bit further up the piece of fabric. Put one more through to the back. just do that. I'm sad to hear today that one of the hosts of a lovely children's show here in Australia had passed away today. Used to always have the catchlight at the end of it's along the lines of It's Still a Wonderful World, which I believe. And he had a lovely hound dog that was his sort of his co-host, I guess. It's funny when you childhood memories of TV presenters and things. Doesn't seem that long ago, and then you count back through the years, and even now with I haven't actually looked recently, but what is defined as vintage, I think is at 30 years makes something vintage, and so it's just crazy that's when you think what if it is 30 years and we're 25 now, so like 1995 is vintage now, which is just feels a bit nuts. I now know what my parents were saying when they said, "Oh yeah, that makes me feel old." It does. I don't feel old though within myself, which is I think why it's a bit of a shock when you do that whole sort of dates thing and realise how long ago some things were. Again, just laying these pieces down, and then after we've done this we can get on to doing some of the weaving, and then we can look at putting, if we've still got time, we can look at putting some stitching in. That's why I decided to do the smaller piece too. It would just allow me to get everything done in the sort of hour format. I never like to go longer than an hour. I don't think the YouTube gods like longer than an hour too. It always takes a while to then sort of upload, and probably too long to keep you all as well. I appreciate you choosing to spend some crafting time with me. I absolutely do. I do imagine you all sitting around my desk. I might not know what you look like, but I know that we would be having lovely little chats. Now, I managed to, I think, unthread this needle and put that back in my pincushion, all while I was on autopilot, which would no doubt be happening. I'd be chatting away to you and I wouldn't be entirely paying attention, would I? Which I guess happens anyway. So what else to tell you? I think it's Wednesday today. I lost track because I went into the city for work this week. Had a lovely new starter in our team just before Christmas, so it was really nice to spend some in-office time with them. And actually it was quite buzzing in the office. I thought it might be a little bit dead with people not really much back after the Christmas break, but there was lots of folks and quite a few other new starters, which was really lovely. I suppose we are getting back into the new year, and we have a public holiday here in Australia towards the end of January, and that's coming around quickly. So it feels like we've just had the sort of Christmas New Year holidays, and then we've got another one. And as Alex keeps reminding me, then we've got our Southern Highlands and Malakuta holidays coming up as well. So Southern Highlands for Fleur Woods retreat, which will be such a treat of a retreat for sure. So this one's not super long, but I'm not going to worry that the ends aren't going to be hanging over, because I do love this piece of linen. And again, as I say, these were just scraps, so it's good to make use of the scraps of the scraps. And as I say, the next project will make use of the, which I'll put up for another day. I've obviously still got to film it. Only filming this one tonight. We'll show you how to even use the smaller scraps from this. So I'm just trying to give you, lots of lovely scrappy projects to do, because I know we all have scraps. You can't kind of be stitching and creating, I don't think, and not accumulating some scraps, even when you're starting out with stitching, you still end up with, yeah, a lovely little, probably you start out with a Ziploc bag of scraps, and then before you know it, it's a tub or multiple tubs. I know that's what folks shared in the comments when I shared my sort of medium fabric scrap size storage idea. And then we're going to have this one. So I might have done these slightly more compact, but I can always just, yeah, trim down that edge if I don't need it at the end. I won't put another piece on. Hoping you can still see up there. Yes, I think you can. Sorry, that's my chair creaking. And so yeah, you just need enough stitches that you're just going to be holding your fabrics nice and securely, and probably at this point I will just now tie these pieces off, but we'll probably keep the needles threaded and in there so that I can use them as we start the weaving. Just do a knot just to kind of know that it's nice and secure before we continue on. I think I might need to rethread this one. Not rethread it as in get a new piece of thread, but I don't think I tied that off properly then. Warts and all stitching with me when you get to see all the unthreadings and all the good, the bad and the ugly. Nothing's really ugly when you're stitching though, is it? I suppose we say our work goes through an ugly phase at times. So if you did have your longer piece, yeah, you could leave your needles in while you start to weave. I don't think I'm not your needles, your pins. I don't think I need that. Oops, another bit of thread. Hitchhiking a right. So seeing I've got my existing threaded needle on this side, I might start the process of threading. And so these are two of the same bits of fabric, but I don't think that's a problem. This one's going to be running this direction and the other's going to be, although they will both be on an end. Maybe I'll intersperse this one a bit further down. I haven't actually thought about what order I want to do these ones in. Let's start with a dark. She will go under. So with the weaving, under, over, under, over, under, over, under and over. And so then pull it down so that it's sort of nice and tightly sort of, yeah, pulled against your little line of stitches here. And then get this piece of fabric to sort of sit flat, so remember where it kind of is coming up to, which is about here on the fabric. And then we will put some stitches in along here. And so I will rethread my other needle wherever I ended up putting that. Get a new piece of thread, and we'll just do the same, stitching it down at the bottom as well as we go, because it just helps to do it as you go. It just helps to hold everything sort of in place, otherwise it can get a bit squibbly wibbly on you. That's that end. And so again, just pull this one and make sure it's sort of sitting flat on your surface, and then just you can come in and do your stitches. And so I'm just lining up this first piece of fabric that's laying on top, just so that that's sort of ending up square as well. But it's pretty forgiving, so don't worry too much if it goes a bit yeah, not 100% straight. Okay, let's maybe do a white actually, have we done? Oh no, we haven't done this white, so maybe I'll swap that out for the other one. Is that going to be long enough? Yep, that'll be long enough. So we need to do the opposite here, which is an under and then an over and then an under, so the opposite of the first woven row. So there we go. So we can, I don't know why my chair started to decide to squeak again. It had been good for a number of videos, and now tonight it wants to squeak. Okay, so we've done our stitches on that side. Then we'll hop over here, do the same. So again, just sort of make sure your piece is sitting as it relatively should. Sort of give it a bit of a stretch up like that. And then, oops, that piece is up there, so we'll have to come through to the back. And then we can just take our stitches down. And you could obviously do smaller stitches if you're worried about that sort of showing. If we're eventually going to put other stitching in, these could almost be treated as tacking sort of stitches. So then we're going to come back the other way, and I'm going to again use a contrasting colour. So again, just have your ends sort of evenly coming out. If you want to get rid of a thready bit, just give it a pull now. And then we'll stitch that in place as well. And you can leave a bit more gap between your sort of woven pieces. It's kind of a bit up to you how you space them. So just play around and see what pleases your eye. And on this side, so it's quite relaxing doing this when you've got all the pieces. It's really just yeah, working out how you want them to be ordered, and that's about the main decision that's required. I like this little bit from the pillowcase from the button cover. And as I say, I like to use the selvage edges of fabric as well if you get a bit of writing or a number or a little colour swatch. So again, we'll just make our way down here. So always just lining up this first sort of bit of fabric so that it's broadly where it should be. It's probably sitting a tiny bit high there, but I don't think it will really matter. I think it'll be fine. And then on the other side, again, just laying it down flat, sort of making sure it's sitting mostly straight. And then just putting your stitches in. Great, and then we can, let's do we'll do a white, or will we do, got that one, got a white, and I've got a green. Yeah, I think that would work well. We'll go floral next. So we've got to go under. Just always make sure you check what the previous row was and you do the opposite. But yeah, just love this. I have done weaving before, but never for a large sort of background for a piece. So I was really happy that I had that idea and that it worked. often I'll have an idea and then I have to give it a go and see if it's going to be a goer. Usually if I think it will work in my head, it usually translates in some way. Sometimes not exactly as I kind of conceive of it in my head. But usually most of the way. But this one I think I even like the background, that it created even more. I wasn't sure how the stripes and florals and the bits that were a bit more not 100% neutral would go, but I think they add in good interest to it. We're going to go that, weren't we? We're going to go that, and then, yep, and then that one. But I think I still need to stitch down the other side, don't I? This one. Great. Oops, got a knot there. There we go. Okay, this one I think because I haven't used this fabric, have I? No. So under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and over. Great. There we go. And here we are. Okay. There we go. Did I get the other side stitched? Yes. Right, so final piece to thread. And so we'll go under, over, under, over. Oh, in fact, this is one where we can turn it upside down to get a different look. So let's do that to show you that. So we can just faintly see and it won't look too much like the other piece. Pull it down so you can see the top. And again, just give your piece a little sort of tug every now and then, and a bit of a, just make sure it's sitting flat. Oops, where did why is my thread over there? Oh no, that's the thread of the fabric, I think. Or is it this thread? No, somehow this thread got tangled in. Hang on. We'll get the thread out and then we'll bring our piece back over and under. And then we'll just need to give it a tug at this end to fit it. All right, that is right, isn't it? Yep. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And then this is the final edge, because we don't have enough to put another piece in, so that will just be our sort of overlapping bit for if we want to turn this one over for something. Because I don't know what I'll use this one for yet, but I'm sure it will be great to add to a pouch or something. I thought these could make lovely little covers for like a cover for a book, or use it as a pouch. Just add it into your Stitchery projects, or do as I'm planning to do and use the bigger one as a background. So that's all stitched now. Just put a few stitches in at the corner and then we can tie that off for sure. And then we'll do the same on the other side. And then we can work out how we want to sort of embellish stitch this piece, just to give you a bit of a sense of what that might be like. Just get rid of that little thready bit. As I say, you can leave them or you can take them off. Do as pleases your eye. Bring that through to the back. Try not to unthread your needle, but if you're like me, you probably will. Having this lace sort of tablecloth over the top of my quilt reminds me a bit of when I did put the fabric and the orts behind my lace pieces for that last background piece. Giving a similar effect. Right, so that's that done. I'll just put a few extra stitches here. And we'll tie that off. Like that. Like that, and I'll just give it a nice little tugger-rumba. And so there you go. That is, it's just got the stitches around. You've got that little bit of overlapping apart from the couple that were short. Now I'll reach behind me and grab out my drawer of crochet yarns. That's my I love this colour, and I haven't found a replacement for it yet, so we might not use that today. I was just wondering what's going to be a lovely, I feel like I want a bit of warmth in my colour to use. What's this one? We've got a whole, this one seems to be going a bit crazy. It doesn't have a wrap around it, so I'm just wondering if we should use this one because it seems to be unwrapped now. I'll just sit that on the floor next to me in case I change my mind on colours. But we might start by trying to put our needle aside for now, put our bits of fabric aside, and I don't know if I've got a bit of a tangle at that end, so I might just take a piece from here. Got a tangle everywhere. I'll have to give this a bit of attention when we finish up videoing, but for now I'll put that there. I'll put that tangle over with my orts jar, and then I'll grab a needle. What would be a nice needle to use for the stitching? Have I got a thinner? That one might be better. If I want to stack some stitches, it's nice to have a long needle, which I might try doing here. So you could use a regular sewing cotton. I just figured I want something you can see as we're stitching it. You could use coloured thread if you want, but I want to kind of stick to the neutral tones. That thread, that knot didn't travel that well down the thread, but such is life. Okay, so I think I'll just do like a sort of cantha stitching might work well, and even though this sort of is a little spare edge up here, I'll just, I think, sort of stack some stitches, and again, not because it's a sort of, it's a scrappy piece. I don't think you need to get too precise about the distance between your stitches, or indeed, I think I'll be able to broadly follow where the lines are, but as I showed in a previous video, you can use washi tape to create a sort of reusable guide that you keep moving down your piece. Maybe just on this, be careful that you're not sort of putting too much pressure on your sort of weaving that it pulls things out of shape. So I'm not sure if I would be inclined to use it on this sort of a piece, but you could. So I'll just stitch it across like this. See if we get we might get all the cantha stitching done. I don't know if I'll go in both directions or just one direction. I think I might just, yeah, I'll start off just doing it in the sort of, yeah, across direction. So I'll do another row about here. So you can do individual stitches if you want, but this is just a bit of a quicker way to kind of, yeah, put a couple of stitches on your needle, a few stitches at the one time. I can hear people having a very loud conversation in the street. They sound very excited. I think happy excited. I don't feel like I need to look out the window and check. Does sound like laughter. I suppose it's school holidays, isn't it? Although they sound a bit older than school kids, maybe university, maybe high school. You can just see I've got a little knot over here, which probably doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, but if I can unknot it, I will, which it has. And then just let me go along here. And then when I get to the end here, I can just pop down again. And then we'll start over here. Not sure if that makes it easier for you to see if I've kind of got my hand not in the way. Again, there's a little bit of a sort of a thready bit which I might just take off, but you don't have to. So feel free to do your own sort of, yeah, stitching or whatever you're wanting to do. Well, this probably won't be super scintillating, but I know some of you like to just, yeah, stitch and chat. And I'll be doing this anyway myself, so there's no harm to me in chatting away to you. I haven't got that much exciting to tell you. I don't think there's a great deal. I think Alex said we've got some good weekend weather, so hopefully you might go down to Embellishment again, to the beach if it's nice. I assume this sort of wet weather will pass over. I think I can see the sun's actually highlighting one cloud in particular in the setting sky. The grey sky with one orangey looking cloud where the sun, I think, sort of, yeah, down near the horizon and is shining back sort of up through it. It's amazing the effects we get in the sky, isn't it? I shared in one of my other videos that I was lucky enough to see the Aurora Australis, albeit on a cloudy evening, but that beautiful sort of, yeah, purpley glow that was in the mid-sky was amazing. Could see it even with the naked eye, because sometimes, yeah, you see it best through a camera set for the right sort of exposure, but to see it naked eye was pretty cool. I subscribe to some Aurora Australis, sort of the Aurora Hunters group, and I saw they posted something about there's been another sunburst or something which might lead to favourable aurora conditions. So not sure how long it takes from that sort of sunburst to bring about an aurora, and nothing's guaranteed. It's funny, on that group people will say, oh, is there going to be an aurora like on New Year's Eve, and that was like a few days before, and the people in the group say no, it's not like a scheduled performance. It decides, there's so many factors that actually come into play and where it might be visible. Here in Australia, often down in Tasmania, they can see it, but we can't see it in Melbourne. We're too far up, but we have been lucky. Let's tie off that piece because it was getting shorter. Give you a look what it, so yeah, when you start out doing cantha stitching, don't worry if it looks a bit ugly, because it was looking sort of a little bit scraggly as I started, but as you go, I think you'll be amazed how well it starts to come together. Got myself another nice long piece. And again, at this point you could decide to change direction and do some in fact, should I do that just so it's a bit more interesting for you? Let's do that. Let's show you how many rows of, I might do another Might do another row across because 1, 2, 3, 4. I generally like to do uneven numbers. For some reason, it is good for the eye. And other commenters have said, "Yep, I'm the same." Even in my other arts activities, that they also do uneven numbers. I should just go back and do stitch back this way first. Probably made my thread way too long, but at least then I don't have to thread all the time. Just pull my end a bit through. Oops. So I might also see if I can, show some other sort of decorative, like you could do crosses, as I say, you could do little sort of knots. So I even wonder, do I maybe maybe I'll do a little bunch just to show you sort of the variety. Let's do a little bunch of crosses here, and then we can continue the sort of cantha stitch, or maybe do some little French knots, or we could even put some French knots in amongst the crosses. That's another possibility. And so because that's quite a large stitch, I might come into the centre where the cross is and put then another little cross across it, which will just help to hold the stitches down a little bit when you're doing a big set of stitches. Almost sort of couches them down at the centre. Or does couch them down, which is couching is when you put a stitch over another stitch. So yeah, that's a bit of fun, I think, actually. So let's do maybe 9 of these. So in a little set of 3. And again, don't worry that they're not going to be even. It's just about creating visual interest. And it does then start to kind of take on that quilted quality, doesn't it, with when you have different quilts with different sort of panels, different sections. So again, just putting that cross in the opposite sort of direction so it sits across the middle. And we'll pop over to here. I'll just get rid of that stringy bit. See, you have ideas as you stitch. You'll be amazed if you're sort of starting out in stitching. Sometimes just start on something, and I'm sure ideas will unfold as you're in that process of needle passing through fabric. For me, that's when my mind just really kind of goes into that state of flow and allows possibilities to open up. Whereas if I tried to plan this out, I probably wouldn't have even thought to do this. Well, I hadn't planned to do this, so and I had worked on the other one last night, so it's not like I hadn't kind of been already in a creating space. But for this piece, it just started to unfold, and I think the process of chatting away to you as well and saying, oh, you can use different stitches. Possibly if I wasn't doing this video and wasn't kind of sharing, brainstorming ideas with you, then it might not even have bubbled up for me if I was just sitting here quietly doing it alone. So again, that shows the benefit of having you around my virtual crafting table. I think that's true. I think I wouldn't have thought of it if I wasn't chatting it through and talking it through with you. So thank you. So I think this is, really cute. Okay, I'll come over here. And so I think it's just a matter of getting enough of a sort of a massing. If you do something like this, it might look weird if you just did 3, but I think doing 9 is going to create a nice little sort of cluster effect. And I guess that's what it is with cantha stitching. If you just did 1 row of scraggly cantha or running stitch, it might look just a bit like a scraggly row of running stitch. But once you combine multiple rows, it starts to become something sort of bigger than the sum of its parts. It's a cool thing. Particularly with stitching. I guess it's with other art forms as well. I haven't really thought about that actually. But yes, no, it is. It's like paintings, like if you just did a few little brush strokes, then yeah, it just might look like a few brush strokes and then suddenly it becomes an impressionist painting. Because that's what I'm doing with my micro collage and through fabric, emulating brush stroke. And yeah, when you start out with the fabric, it just looks like, yeah, little bits of fabric. But then it starts to take the form of the painting. It is a bit easier with that one because I'm using a printed base of the painting, almost like a paint by numbers, but fabric collage by colours. So then it just helps me when I'm looking at my scraps to get a colour that's sort of similar. Obviously, I can ad-lib a bit in that process as well. Ad-libbing with fabric. Is it funny how we can adopt the English language to different mediums? I was chatting to a friend at work today about AI, and she was saying, yeah, a lot of her friends were doing their sort of goal planning for the new year, using like AI, using chatbots and things. And I thought, wow, I wouldn't think to do that besides something. I mean, I don't really do goal setting. I'm sort of, yeah, I'm probably a bit more bubble through life stage at the moment, just kind of, yeah, enjoying the creative life, enjoying where I work and who I work with. And so I'm not kind of feeling the need to be highly goals driven. But I think if I was to be doing a goal planning, I don't know if I'd dial up an AI chatbot. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe I'm just being a Luddite. I think I'd be more likely to sit down with some paper myself and nut it out. But again, maybe it's just that thing that I was talking to you about, like you at my virtual table prompting me through the process of chatting to think of ideas. Maybe ChatGPT and those AIs no different to that. Not that you're AI, you're real people, and that's the thing. And we chat in the comments. I suppose there could be bots AI on YouTube. Hopefully I know. Some of you I chat with on the video. I have seen you. Yes. Okay, what will we do for our next section? Will we do some cantha coming down from here, or we could do some coming across here maybe? Let's do that actually. I think. How much longer? So hoping you can see where we did that. I'll just bring it up a bit closer to the camera so you can see. And because we put those little couching stitches over the centre, it's holding them quite nicely. I think they almost look like upholstery to me. It's interesting, isn't it? Looks a bit loose, that last one we did. It's probably just at the back. I didn't tie it off super tight. Right, let's do some cantha stitching down this way. Trying to remember how I was holding the fabric. How far can I get down with one pass of the needle? So again, with something like this, always test your sort of fabrics that you're using ahead of time. For any that are hard to push through, like this one with that little bit of sort of like paint effect on it, is slightly hard to push through, but it's fine. But you'd want your base piece to be nice to stitch, which is why I decided to use this sort of waffle weave blanket, or it was a tablecloth originally, I think. And originally I was thinking, oh, do I send that to the op shop? But I thought, no, that's going to make a lovely base for something. The lady that was clearing out the stash was hoping it would be used. She'd even said, the supplies could be used for sewing and other crafting. So, I mean, I never feel bad about repurposing things anyway, but it's nice when someone kind of has that in mind as well. And you kind of hope the person who they were originally for, if they are up there somewhere in the sky looking down, you hope that they are enjoying seeing their goodies be given new life and honoured. Because I do. I honour the people. And as I say in the video, my Thrifty Thursday video, which I think I'll actually be posting tonight, but then this video will come out later in a few days' time. When it was advertised on Facebook Marketplace, the daughter-in-law, also included a photo of the family round the table with some of the table linens and other linens showing, with the family sitting there having like probably a Sunday lunch or something. And I thought, oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful little connection from the items to the person. I don't think I mentioned that in the video actually, so that's a little bonus extra. Oops, so we're back up to here. So I'll just actually pop down and go down the Stitchery. Okay. There we are. So we won't get all the stitching done, but hopefully given you enough of a sort of feel for the look and the different stitches. But I will see if I can squeeze in a couple of French knots somewhere. So yeah, I'll probably keep doing more of the cantha stitching to get like a decent sort of massing maybe across these two. But then let's maybe come over, I'll just pass my needle, or maybe we can do it next to, no, we'll go over a bit. And I thought I'll just do some French knots and see how they look as well. So maybe over here we can just pop up. And so French knots we do, I think I'll just do two double French knots. And you just want to hold onto your thread as you pull it through just to get the nice little notch. And so I might just do some random little French knots around some of the squares. Don't even know how visible they're going to be, but I think they'll be okay. We'll just give a nice texture when you're feeling it. If you're ever looking for different stitches, I did a stitch along, the year before, was it last year or the year before? I've lost track now. No, it was the year before, wasn't it? Or was it in the first half of no. A while ago, I did a stitch along of the Dictionary of Stitches with all different stitches. So there's videos for each of the different stitches, and it sort of went A to Z in the way that they were in the book, which was an A to Z of embroidery. So you can see French knots in there, colonial knots, Chinese knots, all sorts of all sorts of knot stitches. I tend to prefer French knots for some reason. So yeah, you can definitely do, and again with this, if I'm doing something like these knots, again I'll probably do maybe these 9 over here, and then I'll probably come in with some cantha stitching and sort of, yeah, finish it off that way, I think. So yeah, I'd probably do the French knots over here. I'll then bring my cantha stitching down for about 5 rows over here, and then I'll probably do some, or I might even do then some zigzag or something. I'll play around with another stitch, but just to give you a bit of a feel of what you can do. And so that's just with the little French knots there. So I hope that's given you some inspiration. I really like both the stitched version, but I just love this one as well. And I'll probably leave this unstitched until I know how I'm using it. Because I'll probably be then adding, if I'm doing the table, for example, with still life elements on it. I was thinking I could use, this was another linen that came from that same lot, I think it was. And so I could have my sort of, tablecloth coming across. And so then the item might be, if it's a teacup or something, might be sitting up on the table. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I will chat to you soon. Bye everyone.